Now, NDE Radio, a weekly exploration of near-death experiences and similar encounters with the other side. Now, here's your host, Lee Witting.
Welcome to NDE Radio with Lee Witting. Whether you're listening on TalkZone, by podcast, through the archives of our ad-free shows on our YouTube channel, or connected through the incredible content of our Facebook page. 2 years ago this month, on our show of May 2nd, 2022, we discussed the Marian apparitions warning Ukraine about Russian aggression and how Putin's war could spread as far as Israel if we did not bring it to an end. On that show, I noted that since May is the month dedicated to Jesus' mother, Mary, it seemed a good time to reflect on the prophecies of Marian apparitions concerning Russian genocide against the people of Ukraine. Now, on today's show, we're at Mary's month of May again, and perhaps it's the right time to tell you the story of a St. Michael, the Archangel, and Marian visit to 4 12-year-old girls concerning events which might happen soon. These apparitions took place in a little town in northwest Spain named San Sebastian of Garabandal, and while they happened back in the early 1960s, they could hold impact for our future today. Humanity is oneness at war with itself. Marian apparitions embody visions of the love we are meant to aspire to, and they warn us to change our ways or face the consequences. By the way, you can listen to our Marian show of 2 years ago on our YouTube channel. It's the NDE Radio show for May 2nd, 2022. But anyway, let me tell you about the apparitions of Our Lady of Garabandal and what they may portend. In 1960, Garabandal was a remote village of about 300 residents located in the Cantabria Mountains of northern Spain. There, the town of San Sebastian of Garabandal sits at the end of a curved road. Nearby, a pine grove stands out between the mountains. The villagers of that time were traditional Catholics, and a woman would walk through the town at day's end, ringing a bell to remind people to pray the Angelus. But starting on the afternoon of Sunday, June 18th, 1961, traditions there would change. That's when 4 young girls saw the apparition of an angel. The girls were 12-year-olds Conchita Gonzalez, Marie Cruz Gonzalez, Jacinta Gonzalez, and Marie Lola Maison. Conchita described the events in these words. "We picked apples not belonging to us, and we thought the devil to be happy and our poor guardian angel to be sad. Then we started to pick up stones and throw them with all our strength to the left side. We thought the devil was there. We started to play with the stones. But all of a sudden, a beautiful figure appeared with so much brightness that it hurt my eyes. The other girls who saw me in this state thought I was having some kind of an attack, and they were ready to call my mother. But then they were in the same state I was, and we exclaimed at the same time, 'There, an angel.' Later, the angel identified himself as St. Michael, the Archangel. St. Michael appeared several times, but at first said nothing. The first time he spoke to the girls was on July 1st, 1961, when he told them, 'Do you know why I have come? To announce to you that tomorrow, Sunday, Mother Mary will appear to you as Our Lady of Mount Carmel.' On Sunday, July 2nd, about 6 p.m., the girls took the path to the 9 pine trees, and as the story had spread, a large number of people followed them, including some priests and doctors. Approaching the place, the children encountered a vision of Mary holding the baby Jesus, accompanied by 2 angels. One angel was St. Michael, and the other was unknown. They described Mary as follows. She comes with a white dress, blue mantle, a crown with 12 golden stars, her hands stretched out with a brown scapular, carrying the child in her arms. Her hair is brown and long, parted in the middle. Her face was long with a fine nose. Her mouth was very beautiful, with the lips a little thick. She appeared to be 17 years old and tall. In the many apparitions of Garabandal that occurred from June 18, 1961 to June 18th, 1965. Two messages especially were given out. The first was given by Mary to the girls on July 4th, 1961. This message had already been written on a sign by St. Michael the Archangel's feet in the month of June during the apparitions of the angel to the girls. The Lady of Mount Carmel asked the girls not to make this message public until October 18th. They did as she requested. In the autumn of 1961, the visionaries made known to the world the first message, which said, "Much sacrifice needs to be done, and much penance. We have to visit the Blessed Sacrament much, but before we have to be very good. If we do not do this, a punishment will come. The cup is being filled, and if we don't change, a punishment will come." This message spoke about sacrifice and penance and offered the eternal message of the prophets and repeated warnings given by Mary in Lourdes and Fatima that the cup is filling. Over the next 4 years, there were reportedly hundreds of visitations of Mother Mary to the girls. When these occurred, the girls would drop to their knees with heads raised, looking up in a state of ecstasy. During some of those times, priests and doctors tested the girls by trying to distract them, even sticking pins in their arms or lifting them up, but they would not react. Even when grown men tried lifting them to their feet, they could not move them or get them to react at all. In a later interview, Conchita said, "During the apparitions, they used to pinch us, put matches close to our eyes to see if we would blink. Also, they would wave paper before our eyes and hold matches against our legs to see if we would jump. But we never felt anything. When the apparition was over, we would see marks of fingernails on our bodies from the pinching. But they never really mistreated us." There were reports of the girls levitating off the ground as they walked or ran to meet Mary. And while thousands of believers witnessed little miracles like that, the church authorities would not agree that something supernatural was happening. The Blessed Virgin communicated a second message 4 years later toward the end of the apparitions. Mary said to Conchita on January 1st, 1965, that the Archangel Michael would appear on the 18th of June and give a message in her name to the whole world. Through the mediation of St. Michael, Mary complained that the first message was not listened to and warned the world that this would be the last. The June 18th, 1965 apparition in which Conchita heard this final message was televised live by Spanish television. Only Conchita Gonzalez, regarded by most as the principal visionary, reported receiving this message, which went as follows. "As my message of the 18th of October has not been complied with, and as it has not been made known to the world, I am telling you that this is the last one. Previously, the cup was filling. Now it is brimming over. Many cardinals, bishops, and priests are following the road to perdition, and with them they are taking many more souls. Ever less importance is being given to the Holy Eucharist. We should turn the wrath of God away from us by our own efforts. If you ask his forgiveness with a sincere heart, he will pardon you. I, your mother, through the intercession of St. Michael the Archangel, wish to tell you that you should make amends. You are now being given the last warnings. I love you very much, and I do not want your condemnation. Ask us sincerely, and we shall grant your plea. Reflect on the passion of Jesus." Clearly, Mary's message here conveyed her disappointment that human behavior had not changed and, in fact, had grown worse. Church authorities definitely did not like hearing Mary's charge that, quote, "many cardinals, bishops, and priests are following the road to perdition, and with them are taking many more souls." Some priests politicized the warning, blaming it on the fact that the Catholic Church was becoming more ecumenical. They blamed the Second Vatican Council for its more progressive take on issues like family planning, the social doctrines of the Church, catechism, and papal authority. It was not until years later it became apparent that Mary's warning more likely referred to the widespread scandal that several cardinals, bishops, and priests were practicing pedophilia themselves, or else protecting other priests who were sexually abusing and ruining children's lives. In a later interview, Conchita was questioned about priests and bishops going on the road to destruction. Conchita said, I think that each day she would mention the priests and that we should pray for them. But we never understood why. For us, priests were like saints because we never had many priests coming to our village. It was considered a great privilege whenever they came. Question, Mary also talked to you about the bishops? Conchita, yes, she talked about priests, bishops, and cardinals. Question, what did you think about the bishops and cardinals being on the road to perdition since you were girls from such a small village? We thought it was very strange, but we would repeat it as she said it. Question, the message was then the important thing. It was the reason why the Virgin came to Garabandal. Conchita, yes, it was the reason why she came to Garabandal. It's clear in this message that we're not hearing or obeying the messages of Mary. That would have serious consequences. It said in 1965 there were over 400,000 priests in the church, and since then tens of thousands have left the priesthood. At this point, you may be thinking, well, this is all ancient history. Why should we be concerned about Garabandal prophecy today? Well, what concerns us is what Conchita said about what is yet to come. In the Garabandal apparitions, many prophetic visions exist about the immediate future of humanity. From the prophetic apparition of Garabandal, Conchita speaks of a warning, a miracle, and a punishment for humanity. A key element of a special interest to near-death enthusiasts is that the time is coming when all living people will experience their own NDE-like life review. So first comes a worldwide warning in the form of the reviews for everyone. To be clear, on January 1st, 1965, Conchita had an apparition in which Mary spoke about this warning for the world to amend itself. Conchita tells us, I cannot say of what it consists. She has not ordered me to say it. She has not told me when it will be. Therefore, I don't know. I do know that it will be visible for the entire world. It is a direct work of God, and it will occur before the miracle. In one of her letters, she writes about this warning. This warning, she said, is like a punishment for the good and for the bad. For the good, so they can draw closer to God, and for the bad, to tell them the end of times is near. This is to be the last warning. The warning will be the fruit of God's justice and mercy because it's going to notify us all of our sins and give us an opportunity for great conversion in our spiritual life. This warning will be a direct work of God's intervention. The warning that will come to the world will be external to us and will happen in the sky, a luminous flame of ardent fire felt on the entire earth. Most importantly, interiorly, we will see our conscience before God's justice, what we have done wrong and what we have not done. In short, it will be like a particular judgment, but while we're still living. As well, the conscience of the world will be corrected, a purification before the miracle, to see if by the warning and the miracle we can change. According to Wikipedia, the warning is described as a momentary stopping of time around the world, with all people then seeing the spiritual condition of their souls and how they should amend their ways. In a later interview, Conchita described the warning thusly. The most important thing about that day is that everyone in the whole world will see a sign, a grace, or a punishment within themselves. In other words, a warning. They will find themselves all alone in the world, no matter where they are at that time, alone with their consciences right before God. They will then see all their sins and what their sins have caused. But then next comes a miracle. Within a year of the warning, a miracle will likely take place. The miracle will leave a permanent sign in Garabandal, which can be seen and photographed but not touched. The miracle will occur on a day between March and May. The punishment or chastisement is conditional upon how humankind reacts to the preceding warning and the miracle. About the miracle, the girls had asked Mother Mary insistently for a miracle. As at Fatima, Mary said, "I will do a miracle for all to believe." And in a note, Conchita wrote, "About the miracle, Our Lady only told me. She had prohibited me to say it is about. I cannot say the date until 8 days before. What I can say is that it will coincide with a church event and with a feast day of a saint, a martyr of the Eucharist. It will be at 8:30 p.m. on a Thursday and be visible to all who are in town, that's Garabandal, and around the mountains. The sick who are present will be healed, and the unbelievers will believe. It will be the greatest miracle Jesus has done for the world. There will be no doubt that it comes from God and for the good of humanity. A sign of the miracle will stay forever near the pines. It can be filmed and televised. It's possible to enumerate essential aspects of the miracle according to what the girls related in interviews and letters, especially Conchita. One, Conchita knows the exact date and communicated it to Pope Paul VI, to his confessor, and to Cardinal Ottaviani. Conchita will announce its coming to the world 8 days before the date. There will be 1 year between the warning and the miracle. It will last between 10 minutes and a quarter of an hour. It will occur on a Thursday at 8:30 p.m. in the afternoon between the 6th and the 16th in one of these 3 months, March, April, or May. On the Catholic calendar, it will coincide with the feast day of a saint martyred in relation to the Eucharist, but not on a Marian feast day. It will also coincide with an important, rare, singular event for all Christianity, a happy and fortunate event. It will be the greatest miracle Jesus has done for the world. It will be visible in Garabandal and in the mountains around the area. It cannot be touched, but it will be able to be filmed and televised. It will not be necessary for the girls to be present at the moment of the miracle. The sick who are there will be healed, and the unbelievers will believe. And finally, the Pope will see the miracle wherever he may be. Have any Garabandal prophecies ever been authenticated? So far, the Catholic Church has remained neutral on the subject. To be sure, some of the events predicted by the girls have not occurred the way they were at first understood. The death of Father Luis Marie Andreu is one of the important reference points in the history of Garabandal. Father Luis was a professor of theology in a school that the Company of Jesus had in Burgos. He and his brother Ramon arrived in Garabandal to investigate if the apparitions were authentic. On August 8th, 1961, during an ecstasy of the visionary girls, Father Luis appeared to be very moved and emotional and 4 times repeated the word miracle, miracle. According to the girls, he was seeing a preview of the great miracle announced by Mary. After remarking that it was the happiest day of his life, he assured everyone he was very happy because Mary had given him a gift, and he insisted that he was well and not tired. However, he died that same evening while riding in a car without the slightest movement and with a sweet expression on his face. It is said Father Andrew died of happiness at the age of 36. A second similar death was that of the saint Padre Pio, who believed he would live to see the miracle predicted at Garabandal, but he died in 1968. Following his death, Conchita received on behalf of Padre Pio a short written message, a large section of the veil that had covered Padre Pio's face after his death, and also one of his gloves. Delivering these gifts to her from Padre Pio was the Italian Capuchin, Father Senamo. And Conchita took advantage of this meeting to ask Father Senamo, "Why did the Virgin tell me that Padre Pio would see the miracle?" He replied, "Padre Pio saw the miracle before his death. He told us himself." Another story. A blind man named Joey Lamangino was told he would have new eyes to see the miracle. Joey Lamangino was born in Brooklyn on June 27, 1931. In June 1947, while he was inflating a tire, it blew up, fracturing his optic nerves and olfactory senses. One night he was sleeping when a voice woke him up and asked him to pray the rosary. In 1963, Joey went to see Padre Pio and miraculously recovered his sense of smell. Joey asked Padre Pio if it was true the Virgin appeared to the 4 girls in Spain. Padre Pio said yes. Joey then went to visit Garabandal and returned there many times. In one of Conchita's ecstasies, Mary told her that Joey would receive new eyes the day of the great miracle. Also, that the voice he heard in 1947 telling him to pray the rosary, that was the voice of Mary herself. Joey became a very pious man who spent his life spreading devotion to God and Mary. Along with founding the Workers of Our Lady of Mount Carmel Center in Lindenhurst, Joey traveled about for many years, giving references on the message of Garabandal, conferences really. But Joey died of a heart attack on June 18th, 2014. Note, June 18th, the anniversary of the day of the first Garabandal apparition, and of the final public notice of June 18th, 1965. Whether before his death he witnessed a vision of the miracle to come as Padre Pio did, or whether, like Father Lewis, a vision of the miracle brought on a heart attack and death, is not really known. And there is other information from the prophecy that seems to contradict events. According to Conchita's diary entry, the bells in Garabandal started to ring. Conchita, who was in the kitchen with her mother, Anacita, immediately exclaimed, "The bells are ringing for a deceased. Surely it is for Pope John the 23rd. Now there were only 3 popes left. Her mother, surprised, asked her what she had said, and Conchita responded that Mary had told her after that pope there only would be 3 left. Her mother asked her if the end of the world would come. Conchita responded, not the end of the world, but the end of times. And Anacita asked if that didn't mean the same thing. So Conchita responded, "The Virgin said to me, after this pope, only 3 are left, and later the end of times." Now here's the conflict. If you count John Paul I, who was pope for only 33 days before he died, then Pope Francis is actually the 4th pope since John the 23rd, not the 3rd, as Conchita said she'd been told. Interestingly, though, there is a related prophecy from St. Malachy, a 12th century Archbishop of Armagh, predicting that Pope Francis actually would be the last pope. According to Malachy's prediction, the 112th pope would be the last, according to his count. Pope Francis was, or is, the 112th. So therefore, the last pope before Malachy's end times prophecy comes to pass. St. Malachy wrote, "He will pasture his sheep in many tribulations, and when these things are finished, the city of 7 hills, that is Rome, will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge his people." The end. So whether you go by Conchita's information or St. Malachy's, the end times are predicted by both to be right around the corner. Let's consider the sequence of events laid out by Conchita. The punishment. The possible punishment to come if people did not repent was described by the girls in the first message of October 18th, 1961. The girls narrated the punishment as best they could according to what they saw. The night of June 19th and 20th, 1962 was when they had that vision. It was similar to rivers transformed into blood. Fire came down from heaven and worse things, a great heat, scorching thirst, and water that evaporated. Men were chained and in desperation trying to kill one another, but due to a lack of strength, they either fell into the flames while others threw themselves into the ocean. However, the water seemed to boil and activate the flames. Conchita narrates in one of her writings, "The punishment is dependent on whether or not humanity listens to the messages of Our Lady and the miracle. In the case it does occur, I know of what it will consist because I have seen the punishment. I can reassure that if it does come, it is worse than if we were wrapped in fire, worse than if we had fire on top and fire underneath. I don't know the time that will pass before God sends it after the miracle has occurred. The punishment as described reminds some of sacred scripture, but it reminds me of John Hershey's description of the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima and the effects of nuclear war generally. As Mary said, she did not come to Garabandal to preach punishments. She came to give us the means to avoid them. I don't want your condemnation, Mary said in her message. Now, what's the Catholic Church's position? Well, from January 12th to the 19th, 1966, Conchita, as principal visionary of the Prophecies and Messages, was asked to go to Rome by Prefect of the Faith, Cardinal Ottaviani. There she was questioned for 2 hours by the Cardinal and other members of the Sacred Congregation. From that meeting, Conchita requested an audience with Pope Paul VI. The audience took place, and the Pope said to her, "Conchita, I bless you, and with me the whole Church." It was also said that an audience was given to the Jesuit priest Escalada. The priest told the Pope, "There is much opposition to believing the apparitions of Garabandal." Pope Paul VI responded, "It doesn't matter. Tell the people it is the Pope who wants to publicize the messages, and with great urgency." It seems the Catholic Church won't declare anything about the manifestations in Garabandal, though, until the prophecies are fulfilled by the warning and the miracle. For those of us who believe that God is love, it's interesting how the apparitions in Garabandal are tied to the hearts of Jesus and Mary. For example, on June 30th, 1961, Jacinta had a vision of Jesus. She described him as dressed in white with a red stole. His heart was luminous red, visible on the left side of his body, and it emitted white golden rays. Jacinta narrated that Jesus didn't say anything in words, but he had a look of love, and she felt he was communicating to her, "I'm with you and will always be with you." By the way, that agrees with the method of telepathic communication described by NDEers. In the last private apparition of Mary to Conchita on November 13th, 1965, Mother Mary told her, "Remember what I said to you on your birthday, that you will suffer much on earth. I tell you this again, have confidence in us, and you will offer it with joy to our hearts for the good of your brothers and sisters. In this way, you will be more united to us." Mary continued, "Conchita, I don't come only for you. I come for all my children with a desire to bring them closer to our hearts." Here's a final note. Conchita was born in 1949 and lives with her family in New York City and Fatima, Portugal. She has been told she will be the one to announce the date of the miracle 8 days before it happens. It's said it will occur in Garabandal, Spain, on a Thursday in March, April, or May. So if this actually happens, it won't be long till then. In any event, it surely wouldn't hurt the world or the heart of God for us to spread some kindness and love in the meantime. Well, thanks for listening. If you found this show interesting, be sure to check out our show of May 2nd, 2022, where we discuss the Marian apparitions warning Ukraine about Russian aggression and how war could spread as far as Israel if we did not bring it to an end. If you'd like to hear this show again or any of our more than 500 archived ad-free NDE interviews, go to TalkZone's NDE Radio site and hit the Past Shows button, or go to our YouTube channel, NDE Radio with Lee Witting, where you can subscribe to and comment on the complete NDE Radio library. Just search NDE Radio with Lee Witting on your Facebook app. And listen next Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern at TalkZone for more NDE Radio. I'm your host, Lee Witting, saying thanks for listening.